There we go.
Here we are. It's pretty cool we're on the thumbnail, huh?
I know, right?
I had to take that picture in the middle of like my study room in that school. I was just like, bruh.
All right.
My buddy was sitting next to me, and I was like, hey, man, random question. Can you take a horizontal picture of me where my shoulders and head have space next to them? He was like, okay, sure. But
there we go. What is up, everybody?
Hope everyone's doing well. Ready for an absolutely insane game tonight. Oh, look at the question by Hointy Tointy. What do you think about that? I got Steelers defense up 13, and he has Deontay Johnson. Do I win? I love the Steelers defense tonight. They are going to obliterate the Bears.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think you're in good shape. If you got the Steelers defense, you're counting on Deontay to drop at least 25, and I don't know about that one.
I will say DJ's been great for fantasy, double-digit points every week, very consistent, but I really like the Steelers defense, so it might be hard for your opponent to outscore that 13.
Yeah, so we will make sure to get through as many questions as we can. We've also got some other things we want to talk about tonight. But quick introduction. I know it's not Sam tonight. My name is Caleb. I am the Packers WalterPicks content creator, and I'm here with my man Andrew. Andrew.
Yes, sir. And Falcons.WalterPicks, 2 playoff team WalterPicks accounts right here. I'll tell you that for free. Hope everyone's doing well. Let's see here. You need 42 from Claypool and Fields, says Noah B. Man, that's tough. But Cameron says, who do we got tonight? I got the Steelers squeaking out a win here over the Bears. Low scoring game, 21-17 is my prediction. What do you got, Caleb?
I think I also picked the Steelers, and I think it's going to be a little bit more scoring for the Steelers. I think I predicted 31-17. I don't know. I think the Steelers offense is just due for one. I mean, they've kind of struggled, just been inconsistent. And so I think it's about time that they put a game together. And, it'll be interesting to see. Yesterday we had some crazy games and things happened that we weren't really expecting. And I think right now 31
100%.
points for the Steelers is not the expectation. So we will see. Let's see what we got here.
WalterPicks is in the chat. Our friend Luke making good content all the time. How are you doing, man?
Yes, sir. I did get a question. I figured I was going to get this question, so I might as well answer it now. How was the game yesterday? So for those of you that don't know, I was fortunate enough to be blessed by the great A.J. Dillon himself with tickets to yesterday's game at Arrowhead. I don't know if you haven't seen the videos, go check out my page. But it was a crazy experience how it all happened, and fortunate enough to go watch him play against the Chiefs and watch Jordan Love's first start. That was something special in its own right. And so it was a great experience. I'm from Kansas, but I've never been to Arrowhead before. I had gone to a preseason Packers game back when I was in like 6th grade up at Lambeau, but I'd never been to Arrowhead, and I'd never seen a regular season Packers game before. And so it was absolutely unreal. We got there about an hour and a half before the game. It was packed with Packers fans. It's just crazy how much and how well that they travel. Funny enough, within 5 to 10 minutes of being there, someone came up to me and asked me if I was Packers.WalterPicks. So it's good to know that the WalterPicks name is traveling and that people know who we are. So that was pretty cool. Got a picture with Andrew. A different Andrew, not this Andrew.
I was going to say, I was not there.
No, but the game was fun. The environment was awesome. Unfortunately, it wasn't a win for the Packers, but saw a lot of good things from Jordan Love. Saw a lot of good things from A.J. Dillon. He had a great game yesterday. And the defense. Our defense actually looked pretty solid. I was nervous going into that game about how we would hold up against all those weapons, but I thought we did a pretty good job defensively.
Yeah, I mean, Devondre Campbell leading the way for that Packers defense most of this season. Former Falcon, that's all I'll say about that. Any chance I can to plug those. Ryan asks, who are some of the best buy low candidates or just people you should trade for in general? Do you have a few people in mind that you were thinking of? Because I have a few that I think could be pretty good to go after, but I'm curious what your thoughts are.
Buy low, guys. I did just go after somebody that, Jacoby Myers has to find the end zone at some point. I think there's going to be a lot of frustrated owners, especially after this week, only putting up 1.8 points. He's got to find the end zone. And so he's a guy that if you can just throw something out there for him, I think he will be a guy that will turn it on here at the end of the season. Another guy that I keep my eye on is J.D. Mckissick. You got Antonio Gibson with the injury. They do have the bye week. But if they continue to creep out of contention, Ron Rivera has always been very conservative with injuries. And so I wonder if it gets to the point where they're not contending, where they're not in that playoff picture, if they won't shut him down for the rest of the year. And at that point, J.D. McKissick is an absolute must-have. He could be a league winner if Antonio Gibson is shut down for the rest of the year, especially in PPR leagues. And so that would be a guy that, if you've got a decent team right now and you can play the waiting game a little bit to the playoffs, that one might end up paying off for you.
Yeah, I definitely think those are good options. And one little strategy that I've always tried to employ in my illustrious fantasy football career, countless championships, thanks to WalterPicks, by the way, for the past few seasons. I will say one strategy I like to employ is going after players who normally do well but didn't do well, then have a bye week, and then they don't have a bye for the rest of the season. For example, DeAndre Swift, before the bye week, underperformed, didn't look great. Person's got the stink from that last game and this bye week on their mind, thinking, "Oh man, like this isn't great." You can get DeAndre Swift for a cheaper situation in terms of trade value. Hey man, go for it. Like DeAndre Swift before the past few weeks, I think he was the highest per game fantasy points player in PPR leagues, and that's including Derrick Henry. But he's been passed since then because of the bye week and the poor performance. But he's great. And also, Bucks players, like players who underperform, like Leonard Fournette, great trade target. I think he's a great option to have. But yeah, I think those are a few that we can give you there. Let's see here. Carter asks, who's the best player to have in tonight's game?
I think that one's pretty easy.
What do you think?
I think it's Najee.
I was gonna say, let me hear it. Let me hear it loud.
Najee Harris. I really don't trust anybody on that Bears offense. I wouldn't play Robinson or Mooney. I wouldn't play Khalil Herbert probably against that defense. I don't trust Justin Fields at all. I think you're either going to see Najee Harris have a career game or Ben's going to spread the ball around. Deontay's going to have a good game. Pat's going to have a good game. But I think the guy that is safest and probably has the most upside is Najee Harris.
How about Najee be the one that they hand the ball to and spread the ball to on offense in terms of the pass game? I definitely appreciate that. Everyone in the chat, in the 32-person league, if you didn't know, we're in a 32-person fantasy league, the most competitive fantasy league in the history of history. Najee Harris, I need 28 points from that man. It can happen. He did it against the Bengals, but it was when he had 14 catches on 19 targets. So I'm not going to say that's going to happen again, but you never know. But
feeling a Benny Snell night.
Oh, please stop. Don't let me hear that. Let me get Kalen Ballage, perhaps.
Yeah.
What do you think the outlook for David Montgomery is going to be?
Tonight, I don't think he's going to see a whole lot. They did just bring him off the IR. They got the bye week coming up. And so I think they'll use him sparingly, kind of get him back into that game speed. But you never know. They also said that George Kittle was going to be on a pitch count yesterday, too, and he went absolutely crazy. So
and he was back to his normal self. I mean,
there's a lot of smoke screens used in the NFL. They want to put out a report of one thing and then something else will happen. So, it'll be good to see him back on the field. Hopefully he is able to stay healthy, get through the bye week, and get back to his normal self, because he could be a big-time contributor for your fantasy teams at the end.
100%.
Great playoff schedule. And so he's a guy that you definitely don't want to see get hindered by a little hiccup from tonight's game going forward.
He's looked like their best player when he was healthy, and it's not particularly close. I wouldn't be a huge fan of starting him against the Steelers anyway, even if he was on a full workload. He kind of scares me a little bit. But speaking of smoke screens in the NFL, I think there's no one more known for smoke screens than Matt Nagy. And that brings us to this question here. By the WalterPicks account, is Matt Nagy, is this his last night as a head coach? And my thought is, if you're a Bears fan, you're hoping so. If you're a Packers fan, you're hoping no. Personally, I would consider it, but there's so many coaches in this league who should be fired already that haven't been, that I don't see this being Matt Nagy's last night. Wow, that would be very funny if it did happen.
Yeah, I think if you fire a coach at this point in the year, you're kind of just writing off the season. Not that they're going to come out and do anything spectacular this year, and I get the idea of just being done with it, moving on. But God, you do that to a locker room. I mean, you're just not gonna be the same team going forward. I don't really see
Well,
that. Or
then again, it is Matt Nagy we're talking about, so maybe him being gone would liven up that locker room and give him a better chance to win. You never know. Um, I can't. You're right. They're 3-5. They somehow win tonight. They're 4-5. In the NFC, that's still in the hunt. Believe it or not. So definitely could be interesting. If they let Big Ben go nuclear on him, which would be a shock, but if that does happen, could be his last night. Let's see here.
What do I do with Mike Williams? I got a lot of Mike Dubs and Mike Williams here in the comments.
Oh yeah,
And I
100%.
think Chargers WalterPicks was one of them.
Of course.
Mike Williams is in a tough spot. I mean, obviously Keenan Allen is reestablishing himself as the receiver number one. I think that's what everybody expected coming into the year. And then when he went off to start the season, everyone thought, oh yeah, Mike Williams is finally what we always thought he would be. You know, he's a former first round pick that people thought every year, oh, this is his breakout year. Oh, this is his breakout year. Oh, this is, and it
Yeah.
just never happened. And we thought, maybe this is the year. He's got 2 great games starting out, and now he's going back to the same Mike Williams that he's been. And so you add in Jared Cook getting more involved. Daniel Parham, he had a good game yesterday. Their other tight end, Anderson, had a good game yesterday. They're just getting everybody involved. And so, I wouldn't try to hang on to him at this point. I think maybe hang on to him one more week and try to sell high if he does go off again. But I'm probably not a guy that I'm going to trust in my lineup unless I have bye week issues.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Try to maybe wait one more week, see if he does really well. I mean, it's weird. Most teams typically do a lot better after their bye weeks. That week off. Let's get recalibrated. Let's get back out there. And since the bye week, the Chargers have seemingly been worse. They lost to the Ravens terribly. They had the bye week, and they just been kind of since then. They won yesterday, but that was against the Eagles team that I feel like many people would say is not great. So it's interesting. Mike Williams is one of my favorite players. I wish he would just drop 40 points every week, but that's just not what he does. He's kind of like Tyler Lockett. So,
yeah, they're very similar players. Very similar.
Speaking of Tyler Lockett, do you think his fantasy value is going to go up now that Russ is back? I know you don't want to hear Russ is back. I know they play the Packers next week. He has this whole hype video. What are you thinking about that?
I think whenever you get your Hall of Fame quarterback back, everybody's value is going to go back up.
Yeah.
But even when Russ was playing there, he had his first 2 weeks where Tyler went off, and then he disappeared. And that's kind of been Tyler's thing. He'll have a couple of really big games, and he'll have a couple of really disappointing games. And so, if he's the perfect boom or bust candidate. Like if you're plugging in a flex and you are just hoping that you get it, you're plugging in a guy that can hopefully get you 25 points. Like that's the perfect guy to put there. You got to be ready for him to leak out a 6-point game or something like that, and if at that point maybe a safer guy like Myles Gaskin to get you 10 to 13. Like it kind of just depends on what you need that week. Some weeks you're going in where you're going to need some Hail Mary shots and he's the perfect guy for it, but there's other weeks where you got to go in with a safe, steady lineup and get your 10 to 12 and get your win. So everybody's situation is different.
And speaking of boom and bust, if you really want to know exactly what a player's boom or bust percentage is, the WalterPicks app does have boom or bust on their app to let you see, okay, Tyler Lockett has a 20% boom rate this week and a 15% bust rate this week. To give you an idea, if you go down early on Thursday night and you need a big boom player in your lineup that's not one of those safer plays, the WalterPicks app can help you make those decisions. And another one of those tools is the WalterPicks Trade Analyzer, one of the most popular tools on the entire app. It determines value between players. And I'm going to bring up a trade situation I'm in right now. And you can choose to help me or you can choose to not help me. I consider you a friend. So maybe you'll use your heart and help me here.
I feel like I've helped you out enough to giving you back Lenny for AJ.
You did help me. You did help me there. But at the same time, it was kind of a necessary evil there. You kind of needed to get, you kind of need
to have AJ
Dillon on your squad.
I don't care.
I'm not gonna lie. I got a little greedy. You offered Damian Harris, which was already pretty good, and I was like, you know what? Let's see how bad he wants it, and that's what happened. So in our league, you're currently you're near the playoffs right now. You're kind of around there. you would say I have a pretty solid roster myself, but I don't know if anyone knew this, but I have the most points scored against me by around 40 points, if I'm not mistaken. Like, it's not particularly close. I'm the only one with 700 points scored against them, and that's just the nature of the beast. I'm going against the 31st ranked person in our league, and they put up 85 points, and that's just how it goes when you're playing me. Nyheim Hines dropping 20. That's just par for the course. But so I'm currently looking at a trade, and so I have Jamar Chase on my team. I just acquired him. You know this. I just acquired Jamar Chase. But the problem is, if I want to get into the playoffs, I need players that are going to play every single week. Jamar Chase is on a bye next week. I don't know if you knew that. Bengals are on a bye next week. And when you're dealing with my sort of team, it's kind of a sticky situation with that. You got to be careful. You don't want to have a lineup out there with stars on your bench when you could possibly get players that can play. So that was a long-winded segue into what the offer is. Currently, I'm potentially looking at acquiring T.Y. Hilton, Will Fuller, who are both injury-prone but could offer some value if they came back, and Mike Evans, he's been great this season. Mike Evans, and 100 fab, which is free agency acquisition budget, which you use in our league to acquire free agency, even though it is a desolate wasteland. And I, in return, would be giving back Ty Johnson and Jamar Chase, who doesn't play this week. Ty Johnson might not be great because of Tevin Coleman coming back. I don't know. If anyone in the chat is still here, would love to hear your thoughts on that. Just because we're up on the screen right now doesn't mean we don't need help in our own right. The trade analyzer on WalterPicks, with our settings, the closest we can get, it says it's pretty even, except for the fact that Jamar Chase has the best player 5-point bonus. If you take that bonus away, it's about dead even. So curious what everyone's thoughts are on that.
My opinion, the other two, it basically turns into Jamar Chase for Mike Evans.
Yeah.
But I value Ty Johnson more than I value both of those other guys. You don't know what you're gonna get with them. Ty Johnson's already involved enough as an RB2, and all it takes is Michael Carter to go down, and you're set. Like, that's kind of what my mentality was with AJ Dillon too. He's at the point where he's already solidified as a RB2 that gets touches. But if Aaron Jones goes down, I'm set. If Devontae Parker gets hurt, it's not going to change Will Fuller's output right now because he's not playing.
Well, the thing is, it's kind of hard to determine what to do with Will Fuller because he gets hurt so much, and when he does play, he's really good. I'm probably going to see if I can get anything better. I like the idea of having Mike Evans because he's not on a bye. It's just tough because I also have Kadarius Toney on a bye this week, and it's just going to be a very interesting situation. I'm going to need to get lucky with the waivers tonight. It's so hard using Fab in a 32-person league. Enough about me. Trix asks, should I sell Patrick Mahomes with a very sad-looking emoji there? Personally, I don't know.
Get outscored by Jordan Love in his first ever NFL start, you should probably sell.
The entire Chiefs offense and team in general has just not been good. And not at all. They've won these last 2 games, but these are not games where you should look at and be like, oh, good for the Chiefs. 2 good wins. They barely beat the Giants when the Giants gave them every opportunity to win, and they barely beat the Packers yesterday. I don't care what the scoreboard says. They barely beat the Packers. Like, that game, man, you know it. It was a gross game. It really was. And so, you could try to sell Pat Mahomes for the name value, but if the person looks at his stats this season, they're not going to be like, ooh, that's awesome. Let me go acquire that piece of garbage. No, you know what I mean? It's like, it's tough.
Yeah, just watching yesterday, Travis Kelce, I don't know if it's because he shaved his beard or what, but the man just does not act like the guy he has been. He scored that touchdown. He was super hyped. His body language, though, during, plays not going to him, his body language, he had that drop on big third down. Patty threw it a little bit behind him, but he just does not look like the same guy that he's been. And then Tyreek, he's Tyler Lockett 2.0 in terms of boom and bust. You're either going to get 35 or you're going to get 6. It's just you're at the point right now when you own Patrick Mahomes, you're starting him because you feel like you have to, and that's not a spot you really want to be in. At that point, you're better off seeing if you can get anything for him, and then maybe streaming quarterbacks, or maybe you have Ryan Tannehill as a backup or Joe Burrow as a backup. I would rather play Joe Burrow than Patrick Mahomes. based on a matchup. If it's a bad matchup, I probably wouldn't play him. But the problem is with Patrick Mahomes, you're not going to bench him if he has a bad matchup because he's Patrick Mahomes. And so I think you kind of crutch yourself a little bit when you get into that point.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's kind of like saying, hey, should I trade Allen Robinson? It's like you could, but you're gonna get a jar of jelly beans and a marble. Like you're not gonna get, you're not gonna get anything. So it's kind of like, what do we do? Marlo Owens asks or says, hey guys, do I trade Kamara, McLaurin, and Tony for CMC and AJ Brown?
Whoa, what? You want
10
to
teams
again?
PPR.
Kamara, McLaurin, and Tony for CMC. And man, I really like getting AJ Brown.
This might be a little interesting here. What if I whipped out the WalterPicks app right here and right now and did the trade just to see? Why not? We can tend to some other questions while I put this in for Marlo so I can see.
Yes, I will do that.
WalterPicks app.
Should I trade
the App Store?
Should I trade DJ Moore and Mike Williams? I'm upset with them and who I should target when I already have it. Oh, I mean, I already talked about Mike Williams a little bit. I think he's a perfect guy that you wait one more week to see if he can blow up again, and then you sell high on him. I just don't think he's going to be a consistent contributor for you going forward. And there was so much hype around DJ Moore to start the season, and he had some great games there in the beginning, and then there was hope that because CMC was coming back that he was going to get back to that, and it just never happened. And I don't know if it's going to. I don't know what's going on with DJ Moore. I don't know what's going on with Robbie Anderson. Like the whole Robbie Anderson thing is absolute. It just blows my mind. Like he's in a perfect situation. He got his former quarterback back on the team. Like I was anticipating Robbie Anderson being a big time late round pick that you're going to end up starting every week. And I think Chargers WalterPicks actually has him on his 32-man team. And 2 weeks in a row, I think he's had less than 3 points. And so it's just I don't trust either one of those two guys. So I definitely think you're justified in getting rid of them. What do we have on the trade for Marlon?
All right, so it's a pretty even trade. So what we were mentioning earlier is whatever side is the best player in the trade gets a 5-point bonus. So Alvin Kamara, according to Walter, was deemed the best player in the trade, just rightfully so, based on how he's played for this season. So the Kamara, McLaurin, and Tony side wins. Oh, let me get it right there. You can see it's going to be reversed. See that? It's going to say that the Kamara, McLaurin, and Tony side wins. So I would say that you should not do that trade because in Walter we trust, right? Now, kind of circling our way back to tonight's matchup, Spiros asks, is there a good chance Claypool outscores Deontay tonight? And here's my answer. I'll let you answer afterwards. The only way that happens is if Claypool hits on one of those deep strikes. Deontay Johnson is far too much targeted. He gets the ball so much. That's why he has double-digit points in every game. Ben loves hitting Deontay Johnson. And the Bears defense is not who they used to be in terms of, they used to be a defensive stalwart, not anymore. So I would be very surprised if Claypool outscores Deontay, but the only way that does happen is on a deep play. That's my thought. So what do you got?
I would agree with you on that. I think Deontay, it's like you said, Claypool is kind of going to be touchdown dependent in terms of is he going to outscore Deontay just because of the volume and the usage that Deontay sees. It's not a knock on Claypool. It's not just me saying that Claypool can't go score 10 to 12. It's just a lot harder for him to compete when Deontay's getting 8 to 10 to 12 targets compared to 4 to 6 for Claypool. And so, if they turn out to be a touchdown or two, then yes. But when you get into the battle of playing on touchdown dependency, then you're up against the wall already. So,
yeah. Let's see. Charger says, I'm slamming Fields over 33.5 rushing yards. Considering TJ Watt will be coming after his lunch money the entire game, I would bet on that as well. Justin Fields is going to be running for his dear life all game long. That Steelers defensive front, even without Melvin Ingram, right? They just traded him away to the Chiefs, I believe it was, right?
Yep.
Very interesting that they did that. Normally, teams don't trade to other contenders like that, but hey, you got to do what you got to do. man, there's some players on that Steelers defense. I'm always excited to watch the Steelers defense play. The offense is a whole other story. Steelers defense is always fun to watch. They got these young guys. It seems like they're a factory for finding good defensive linemen that just come out of nowhere, or linebackers that can run off the edge. Like Alex Highsmith has been an absolute star this season. Cam Hayward, I believe, is the highest rated PFF defensive player this season. I mean, he's just been insane. So I would definitely take Fields rushing for 33.5 yards.
Yeah, I need. Let's see. Toxic says he needs Najee under 16. What are your chances? I don't feel great about those chances.
I hope that doesn't happen. I'm sorry, Trace. I hope that doesn't happen. I need him to do a lot better than that for my own sake. Would you trade Joe Mixon for Swift in half PPR? Like I said before, going after guys who already had their bye week. The Bengals have their bye week this week. Mixon just had a great game. He had, I believe, 28 points in PPR. So I don't know. It's a tough call. Swift is great in his own right. If you're trying to win right now and you make that trade, I don't hate that at all. I don't hate doing that because I think they're pretty even. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think they're both great. They're both absolutely great.
Let's see. Should I trade Zeke for Henderson and Robinson? If that's Allen Robinson, I mean, you're not really getting anything there. So basically, it turns into Zeke for Henderson straight up. Me personally, I would probably make that trade just because I'm so high on Darrell Henderson in that offense. I know it wasn't a great night last night, but Tony Pollard just keeps taking reps away from Zeke, and I don't know. I would rather have Henderson personally, but I'm also a Packers fan, and I can't stand the Cowboys, and so there's a little bit of personal bias that goes on there too. So if I'm just completely honest.
No, of course.
Oh, James Robinson. It's James Robinson. Okay, then yes, I would probably take that deal.
I'm up by 10 and I have Deontay and he has Fields. What are my chances? I like your chances. I like your chances a lot, actually. I would bet on you to win. So that's my thought there. I mean, I think you're looking good.
Would you trade Davonte Smith, Hunt, and Mitchell for Thielen? Trade Davonte Smith, Hunt, and Mitchell for Thielen?
I wouldn't.
That's giving up a lot.
And Thielen, I don't know if you saw, I believe he had 2 catches for 6-7 yards yesterday. Not a great performance. And the game was what they finished 37 to 30. Oh, no, it was a field goal, so 34-31. Yeah. And Adam Thielen only had 2 catches for 6 yards. That's a big spaghetti-o for me. Not a big fan of that.
That's the kind of package I would put together for a guy like D-Hop right now. Someone that has been down. I mean, obviously, he's probably not going to take that exact deal, but putting some of those pieces together for somebody who has been underperforming, that has a little bit more upside and a little more consistency. Thielen just, I mean, he's not a guy where I'm going to go a 3-for-1 for.
Yeah, no, definitely not. And now here, I have another question. It's not in the comments section. It's just a genuine question because from what I observed yesterday in the NFL, the National Football League, everyone knows about it. What I observed was, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, every team in the NFL is just not good. No one's good. There's no good team, maybe besides the Titans, man. Like, the 1 week you're like, oh, yeah, this is the team. The next week it's like, what on earth just happened? The Jaguars held the Bills to 6 points. The Jaguars. I mean,
it's any given Sunday. I mean, that's the cliche with the NFL. I don't think it's that there's not good teams. I think it's that there's so many good teams in their own rights, and sometimes you just go into a week where the matchups line up for you. Sometimes you just go into the week where you feel really good about the game plan that you've got going in. And so, the Titans are a good team. The Bills are a good team. The Packers are a good team. The Chiefs are a good team. The Chiefs are playing bad football, but they're one of the most loaded rosters and from a talent standpoint in the league. And so, yes, you're going to play some bad games. You're going to have some circumstances that, that cause for some weird outcomes. But I think there's definitely – the Falcons have been playing some decent football recently. I mean,
yes,
come on. So I don't know. I think there's good teams, but there's just the talent level in the NFL is just unreal. Even guys where you're like, oh, that guy sucks. Well, that guy still runs a 4.3 40 and can make plays happen. And all you need is a chance. And so, like Josh Allen. Josh Allen of the Jaguars is still a freak. Like,
Yeah,
there's
I
a
mean,
reason he was a top 10 pick overall. Like, just the talent level of these guys is unreal. And so some days you just get them while they're hot, and you end up with the Jags beating the Bills. So
fun fact: Daniel Jones in the draft went 6th overall as Josh Allen continued to fall. Defensive end Josh Allen continued to fall and fall and fall, and Giants fans were clamoring for them. Please take Josh Allen. Daniel Jones will still be there, and no, they didn't do that. So now we see what Josh Allen's doing. And obviously, it was being a little hyperbolic. It's just so funny to me that how NFL teams, you think one thing, next week the other thing happens. I'm going into the Sunday night game. Oh man, Derrick Henry's out. They have 950-year-old Adrian Peterson at running back. Like the Rams are going to steamroll this team at home. No. That is not what happened whatsoever. Titans came out there with a good game plan defensively for sure and offensively, and just made Matt Stafford look like a rookie out there. Made him look terrible. Some shades of Carson Wentz. I'm sorry if there's any Colts fans in here, but man, that was rough. Real rough. But yeah,
I mean, it just goes to show, like you mentioned, the Adrian Peterson thing. It just goes to show how much goes on during the week at these places. Like all week, it was, oh, Adrian Peterson's gonna be an absolute animal now, or Jeremy McNichols, and then Foreman or Deontay Freeman?
yeah, Dante Foreman, yeah.
Foreman, they came in and stole all the carries, and everyone was like, oh crap, well I should have picked him. Like the amount of stuff that goes on in these facilities is just crazy. I mean, the 49ers running back situation every other week, never knowing who's going to be the guy. Like, these guys are just so good at what they do. And so, I mean, sometimes you just got to sit back and be like, you know what? Yeah, I picked up the wrong running back. It happens. Oh, I traded the wrong guy this week. It happens. So you win some, you lose some. And like this week, I lost because I traded Devontae Smith away. He goes off for 22 points after.
Of course he does. I wouldn't have blamed you for that though. Like, I'm pretty sure I benched Davonte Smith in one league, and it's just how it goes. Another question from Kyle, oriented about tonight's game: Montgomery or Mooney?
Mooney. Yeah, Mooney, just because of the usage. I don't think Montgomery's going to play over 40% of snaps offensively, and so you just don't get a lot of volume there. And you're playing against the Steelers, and like Andrew was just talking about earlier, that defensive line is unreal. They've got talented linebackers. Their front seven, their box is loaded, so the odds are not in your favor playing David Montgomery. At least with Mooney, you get the chance of some deep ball, or maybe he's Fields' favorite target tonight, and he gets thrown the ball to him 7 or 8 times. So that's my opinion.
What do you think the Bears have to do in order to win tonight?
What do they have? They gotta let.
For anyone who doesn't know, Caleb is a football coach in his own right. So if you were the Bears, what would your game plan be to go out there and take down the Steelers in Heinz Field? What would the plan be?
I think you got to let Justin Fields loose at some point. I mean, I know that there's this idea that you want to bring him up and you want to, kind of keep him under control. But you're 3-5. You're going up against a great defense. Let the dude make some plays. He might take a couple of hit sacks because he's run around a little bit too much or something stupid like that. But what play was it last week where he was scrambling around all over the place, took off, ran for like 20-yard touchdown? Like, when you draft a quarterback like that is super athletic, you've got to let him use what makes him great. It's the same reason why Kyler Murray is great. It's why those teams take chances on those guys. It's because they are so athletic and because they can make plays just by being the best player on the field, the most athletic player on the field. And so I'm gonna establish a run game. Khalil Herbert, a little bit of David Montgomery, establish a run game. Nice, easy passes for Justin Fields, and then let him loose. And then defensively, I mean, they've got a great defense. They've got Jalen Johnson's been a stud. I think they can compete well, shutting down at least one of the receivers. I think they've really got to be conscious of the tight end play, though, whether it's Pat or Ebron. I don't know if Ebron's active tonight or not, actually.
If you're a Steelers fan, you hope Ebron's not active because Freiermuth has been so good. Last 2 weeks, he's got 14 targets combined. The dude is an absolute tank. Some people would say he's the best tight end out of this rookie class. And to that, I would say you're wrong. But, yeah, maybe to each their own, because some would say Kyle Pitts is the tight end, whatever.
Let's bring up the Falcons offense. We've talked a little bit about just about every other team. But the Falcons are 4-4.
Yes, they are.
That is a bit of a surprise to some, I think.
Yeah.
But what is your thoughts on this offense? Everyone thought coming into the season Calvin Ridley was going to be the man. the myth, the legend. He's going to be a top 3 fantasy receiver, and then obviously everything that happened with him, and then Russell Gage was this late round steal because he's the new receiver too. He's going to take over Calvin Ridley's role, and then he did nothing for the first 8 weeks, and then Gage and Ridley are out, and Zacchaeus is the number 1 receiver, and he has like 2 catches. They're just all over the place. Do you see any sort of consistency for their offense going forward?
Well, I think right now, if you're looking at the Atlanta Falcons, it's death, taxes, and Cordero Patterson. Cordero Patterson, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize this guy is so good, and I cannot imagine what he would have done throughout his career if other teams had used him the same way the Falcons are. And when you see him out there, it's just like, man, this guy wants to win. He wants to get paid. Like, he just makes plays. Like, he just doesn't – like, when they throw it in, you're like, he's not dropping it. No chance. Like, it's crazy as it is to say, like when you're watching a Packers game, right? When Aaron Rodgers throws to Davonte Adams, you're thinking, "Oh, easy catch. This is easy, right? Like he's gonna catch it." So no doubt, I mean, Cordell Patterson is not Davonte Adams, but when Matt Ryan throws to Cordell, I'm like, easy play, easy look. He puts so much effort on every single play. That's what really gotten the offense going. Sprinkle in a little bit of Mike Davis to change the pace. He's been kind of stinky, but he serves his purpose. And Kyle Pitts, of course, he's been great. I think since the first week, after the first week of the season when the Falcons got destroyed by the Eagles, I was kind of like, man, this is not good. I'm a little skeptical of this. But Arthur Smith did exactly what I said in my video he needs to do is change this game plan up and figure out what he has and what he should focus on. And that was Cordero Patterson. As soon as he started doing that, the offense just looks so much better. And believe it or not, the Falcons defense, while it isn't great, it's so much better than what people thought it was going to be. You know what I mean? Like AJ Terrell, man, this guy has been so good. And it's not just me gassing him up because I like the Falcons. AJ Terrell has just been locked down. He made several plays yesterday where you just sit there and you're like, wow, this guy he's really something. He could be, if he keeps this up, he could be in their upper echelon one day with the Alexanders, with the the Ramseys, maybe one day. If he really just keeps this up, he really showed flashes of that. Obviously, everyone knows Deion Jones is great. Grady Jarrett's great. They've had some other players come out of the woodwork and do their thing too. But I think that's really the reason why they've won some games. And I mean, when you have the second best kicker in the NFL, Younghoe Koo, you pretty much guarantee lockdown game-winning field goal kick as long as Matt Ryan gets it down there. 3 game-winning kicks for Koo this year. Don't know if you knew that. 3 game winners.
Nice. Must be nice because Mason.
I was going to say that one Packers game was an absolute just.
Well, this last Packers game was an absolute one too. We missed 2 more this week.
Yeah. So here's is Mason Crosby only there just because of like the longevity and like just because he's always been there? Like, why don't they look for someone else? I don't understand.
I think there is a little bit of that loyalty, at least with the Bengals game. The Bengals game, it was on Mason. Like, I was sitting there watching that game, and Jonathan Vilma brought up how, oh man, he's made all these kicks. And I was sitting there thinking, this reminds me of when we played the Lions, and he missed like 3 kicks, and that's exactly what that game turned into. But this last game, people don't understand just how important all the units of special team is. Like, everyone wants to say, oh, Mason Crosby sucks, get him out of there. Like, there's the snap and there's the hold. Well, the snap this week, we cut our long-term veteran long snapper. And so the long snapper we had this week was his first NFL game. The snap was much slower. We also had our wings this week on the edge. If you go back and watch, Tyler Lancaster, which is our defensive tackle, was over there, and Dean Lowry, which is our defensive end, was over there. And one got put on his butt, and the other one had his feet stuck in mud and just didn't move anywhere. And so, yes, obviously Crosby's the one kicking the ball, but there's so much that goes into it. And last but not least, laces were out, and so he kicked the laces on both of them. And so that's never good. No, and being at the game is actually kind of cool because you never see it like on camera or on the TV. But Mason was pissed. Like, he started yelling at the punter. He started yelling at the long snapper. Like, he went over the sideline and was yelling at the special teams coordinator. Like, Mason was like visibly frustrated. And it was kind of cool just to see that because like you watch it on TV and everyone's like, oh man, yeah, Crosby hooked it. Well, there was more that went on than just Crosby missing a kick. So it was. I don't think he's done for. I think it is a little bit in his head now. Because the right side has just been an issue all season long. There's been pressure coming from over there all year, and we just cannot find the right guys over there to hold it down. But that's going a little more in depth, I think, than people care to listen to.
Yeah, no, I like that. I mean, like you said, you don't hear that a lot. You don't see that very often. I mean, anyone who's seen Ace Ventura knows how important it is that the laces are out and not in. I don't know if you've seen Ace Ventura, but man, it's those laces need to be out, or else you're not making that kick. Got a few questions here. Toxic Fox says, "Let's go Patterson waiver pickup of the year." No doubt about that. And then Pointy Tointy says, "How do you think Kyle Pitts will do while Ridley is out?" This week. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I was gonna say I picked the over on his 5.5 catches this week and lost that one. So I thought he was gonna be the go-to guy, and sure enough, he was not.
Well, I will say I did make a video this week, and I said that I was a little concerned about Kyle Pitts, and that's coming from a Falcons fan. Against that Saints defense, Ridley's out. I was just like I predicted. They had DBs on Kyle Pitts for a lot of the game. That makes it hard for him sometimes. He also had a big drop at the beginning of the game that might have helped out your parlay or your pick there. But yeah, no, I think Kyle Pitts will be great. The Saints defense is no joke. So I think that Pitts is going to be just fine. Still a must start every week. James says Kelsey or Waller. I think it's Kelsey still.
Yeah.
No question.
Right. Yeah, no, Kelsey.
100%. Okay, let's see. Going back to tonight's game, we got about 15 more minutes left of this stream before we depart. But I will say, what's a bold prediction you got for tonight's game? Bold prediction. I know this game's not bold, but what's a bold prediction that you have?
Bold prediction for tonight. I think, man, that's tough.
Yeah, I know.
I think Allen Robinson is going to catch a touchdown tonight.
Wow. That would be just monumental. There's someone out there who has Allen Robinson in their DFS lineup, and if Allen Robinson scores a touchdown, they are going to win some money. Man,
it's going to happen.
Do you think?
Don't ask me how much confidence I have in that, but that's my bold prediction.
Man, I think. Oh man, what's a bold prediction from me that I could say? I think Pat Freiermuth, the Muth is Luth, is going to have the most receptions on the Steelers tonight. That's my bold prediction. That's it. You got to be bold. You can't go nice and easy. You went bold, I'll go bold too. I will say Pat, baby Gronk is what they call him. Most receptions for the Steelers tonight. Michael needs 18.5 from Deontay tonight. Do you got this? I think it's feasible. I think it's feasible.
It's tough, but it's doable.
I think a lot of it depends on the game script. Like the game script, if it's a competitive game, if the Bears are in there, easily Deontay can hit that. Also, if Deontay scores a touchdown, he could hit that. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a close call. But, man, like I said, Deontay Johnson's such a good player that he can do that any given week. Hopefully those points that you need from Deontay are going to go to Najee for my own sake. I know I'm being selfish in that way, but I need that to happen. Let's see. Toxic Fox says, I feel like Pitts is better with Ridley because it takes some of the focus off him. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. It's the same for a lot of offenses like that. That's why the Bucs offense is so good because they have so many weapons out there. I mean, they have Tom Brady playing quarterback, so that always helps. But you have so many weapons out there, you can't prioritize one. Let's go double Chris Godwin. Oh, you want to do that? Mike Evans over here, all-pro wide receiver. Oh, you want to double Mike Evans? Oh, Antonio Brown when he's healthy in the slot. Good luck. Oh, you want to cover him? Gronk, easy. It's so crazy with teams like that. You're absolutely right. Well, Chargers WalterPicks says, who would have thought at the beginning of the season Allen Robinson scoring a touchdown would be a bold take?
Oh, man. The amount of disappointments this year has just been unreal. Injuries aside, some of the injuries, you can't do anything about those. But Brandon Ayuk, what a disappointment. He's finally come on. Thank goodness. But, so many people were taking him 5th round, 6th round. And, this can be my breakout player. And he just absolutely done.
I mean, and you can't blame him for it. You can't blame him for it because all signs pointed to second-year breakout always happens for receivers. Here it is. Boom. But I mean, as a Packers fan,
would you have thought any way in the world that the best second-year breakout was Michael Pittman?
I'm not going to say I would have thought he would be the best, but you might jog your memory a little bit. We went live a long time ago before the season. I always bring this up. I said Michael Pittman will be the best receiver on the Colts. and it happened. So I mean, and I'm
I
sure
mean,
as a Packers fan, you probably love the fact that Allen Robinson has been stinky. It probably makes you happy.
it does. There's also a part of me that wishes we would have made a trade. I know that that's wishful thinking because our cap situation is absolute mess. But it's just like you just talked about with the weapons. I mean, having another guy to take away the emphasis on Davonte Adams.
Well, you
Allen
already have
Lazard is a solid starter. MVS solid starter, but they're not guys where the defense is like, man, we have to game plan for this guy.
I think you're underestimating just how great the secondary option on the Packers is. It's going to be Mercedes Lewis. He demands so much. I can't even finish the sentence. I'm sorry.
Did you see the play that Jordan Love made last night, though, to him?
Yeah.
The scramble around, turn around, spin in a circle, chuck it, and throw. Like, that one was pretty cool. It was for, like, no yards, but I was like, okay.
And last week he had that 1 yard catch that wasn't a touchdown, but it was so sick. And then Troy Aikman was going insane. Or maybe it was Chris Collinsworth. I can't remember.
No, I think it was
Toxic says, do you guys think Ayuk is back? I just picked him up last week.
I picked him up, too. I think that the situation is good for him. I think he finally got a couple games where he's like, okay, I can actually play football again. Because for a while, he was not getting the ball thrown to him. Like, week 1, it was the mystery week of what the heck happened because he was, like, pushed down the depth chart. I actually think the 49ers offense can be pretty solid at this point. I'm interested to see if they do pull the trigger on Trey Lance at any point. And once they get all their running backs back, it'll be interesting to see what they do. But they've got Kittle back. Debo kind of came out of nowhere this year. And now the bazooka might actually be here. And so I'm excited. I plan on actually starting him this week in one of my competitive leagues. So
well,
I'm hoping.
It's a bold thing to say that Brandon Ayuk is back. You got to be really careful. You're treading on very thin ice when you say that because once someone puts him in there, boom, and he does bad, you're done. WalterPicks loved Ayuk from the start. Sam, the man, the myth, the legend, loved Ayuk at the bazooka ever since the beginning of the season, and you can't blame him because like I said, he's so good. But I don't know what's going. Like, what do you think of Kyle Shanahan? Do you think he's getting more credit than he actually deserves? Because I think he is. I think he gets more credit than he deserves.
I don't know. Kyle Shanahan is. You know what he's capable of when he has the dudes. Like
I do.
He is a great offensive mind, and I love his system there. And the Packers have completely embraced. They're basically the 49ers blueprint. I mean, they stole from the 49ers everything that they do. The heavy run packages. We need 2 backs. We need guy. We're going to line up in 12 personnel with get a bunch of tight ends out there blocking, outside zone, all that stretch, bootlegs, all this kind of stuff. But it fits them so well. They just can't stay healthy. Like, Raheem Mostert is such a good running back. The man just cannot stay healthy. Like, if Raheem Mostert could play a whole season, if you go back to the year where he absolutely went off and won people leagues, like, if he could do that consistently, their offense would be unstoppable. I mean, and if they had more consistent quarterback play, Jimmy Garoppolo is definitely not the answer.
What makes you say that?
He's a game manager. He does a good job of not making too many mistakes, but he's not a guy that's going to go out there and win you the football game. I know that's what they're hoping for with Trey Lance, and he might be able to be that guy. But I don't think it's Kyle Shanahan's fault. I really don't. I know it's tough to gauge running backs with him, but I think most Niner games I've watched, I like the game plan. It just comes down to a couple plays here or there that kind of seal the deal for him.
Well, and circling back to the night game, we got a few minutes left. Josh says, what are the chances that Deontay Johnson goes over 13 points? I love that. As long as you're in PPR, if you're in PPR, that's a lock. That's easy cash money. I think you can get that on the first possession if he scores a touchdown. Man, the way Big Ben forces him the ball, I love that. Michael said he made the mistake of not starting Kittle. Oh, that sucks. That sucks. I don't blame you, though. I would have been skeptical also, like Caleb was saying earlier. Kittle, he thought he was going to be on a pitch count, but no, they played him just fine. He did great. Toxic, who's been loyal in this chat the whole time. Love to see it. What do we think he could get for those 3 guys you mentioned earlier? Because they're all on the bench. He'd love to get a solid starter. It's hard because we don't know your league and we don't know what other team needs are. But I definitely think you could get a starter for the playoffs. I can't be specific because I don't know your teammate, your league mates, thoughts, but yeah.
And like I was talking about earlier with that kind of package, I mean, maybe it's not D-Hop. Maybe that person won't get rid of D-Hop for that. Maybe it's your high that DJ Moore will bounce back, and you put a package together for him, or Terry McLaurin, or someone like that, where they're just on the edge of being that elite tier receiver. They've been struggling a little bit. Like right now, you're probably going to struggle to put that package together for Keenan Allen with how he played yesterday. But some of these guys that have maybe struggled the last week or so, you might be able to pry it away from them if they're a little bit desperate at this point.
Oh man, Michael says he needed 11, but now he needs 18 from Deontay, and he had Lamar, Chubb, and Kamara, and he still might lose. That is the worst.
Wow.
That's the story of my 32 person league situation. Every week, I put up players do fine, but then the rest of my team stinks, and I'm going against the person who puts up 100. Just how it works. Trade McLaurin.
I've been pretty fortunate with my points against. I think I'm pretty low on that list. I played a lot, except I'm going to lose this week. The Eagles account got Ben, and I'm going to lose now because Elijah Moore went off.
Well, and here's the other thing. Since I made that trade with them, they are 6-0. Can you believe that? Toxic says, who's in first in the 32-man league? It is the Steelers account, and it's not particularly close.
It's not going to be. That team is, loaded. I saw his video today where he actually showed – I never actually gone and looked at his team, but when he posted that video of who actually was on it, I was like, you got to be flipping kidding me. I was trying to go back and think, okay, what pick did he have to get all of these guys? And I was like, okay, well, Chubb was probably in the teens. So, I can't remember what the order was, but he must have gone, Chubb, and then, who was it? He's got Henderson.
I was going to say, he had to get Hurts in the second, right?
Yeah, Hurts. So he got Hurts in the second, and then Henderson in the third, then Pittman in the fourth, and then probably Hunter Henry in the fifth. And then Pat later in the sixth or seventh. And you're just like, oh, my gosh. Yeah, his team's loaded.
Yeah, I will say, he looks great now, but I really like the move that the Texans account just made. I love that move. Well, here's the thing that people didn't realize. I'm always looking really deep into trades, right? Because there's a lot more context than what's just on the screen. The thing that people don't realize about getting Tom Brady and Stephon Diggs in that trade is that those guys have both already had their bye. Mahomes hasn't had his bye yet. He got rid of Mahomes. He got 2 stars, giving up all his depth, mind you, but now his entire lineup is full of people who already had their bye. That's kind of been my goal. It's one of the reasons I was considering that Mike Evans trade. So if that happens later tonight, you'll see the trade show up, but I hope to not be ridiculed.
I wouldn't make that trade. I know. I was in talks with Charlotte all last week with the Kittle Evans deal, and the depth that she's got just isn't depth I don't think you want.
Yeah, no, I definitely think I get something better. It's always tough. Oh, thanks for hopping in, Michael. Same to you, man. But it's always tough because, I said this before, and we can end on this note before this awesome Monday night game takes off. Is this is advice for anyone. When you're making trades with someone, the less you say, the better. The more. So if someone comes at me with a trade and they're talking my ear off, trying to convince me of things, I'm like, man, don't even try it, man. Just explaining the entire career of this player. I'm like, you can say all you want. I've seen that T.Y. Hilton has done absolutely jack diddly this year. So, I can try to push her to give me something else, but if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. I mean, I just don't know if I can afford to lose another week. So we'll see what happens.
Right. I got you.
We can hit a few more questions here, and then we got to hop off.
So you mentioned the Texans. I was going to say one thing about the Texans. I know that because he got rid of Mahomes, Mooney, Patrick, right? All those.
Yeah, Tajay Sharp.
But so the guys he's got left are Gronk, which is a question mark.
Yeah.
Thielen, which we already talked about him a little bit.
Davonte Williams.
And so it's not like other than Diggs and Brady now, he really doesn't have another dude. I'll be completely honest with you. If you can pull out 2 wins these next 3 weeks, I think you're going to go on and win the whole thing. That's my honest opinion. Just looking at your team and looking at your schedule in the playoffs, between your team, I think your team is built, and I think the Rams team, those 2 teams are the 2 teams are if there's going to be any team that can beat the Steelers team, it's going to be one of those.
Well, I'll tell you this, that record of 15-1 that the Steelers has, that one was me. That's all I'm going to say. That one was me. But no, so you saying that makes me want to do this trade even less. It's just I really need to find a way to field a roster next week that can get a win or at least beat the median because I really need to win some games. I agree with you. Like Chase is really good. He had 13 targets this week. So hopefully we can see that. If you go to our TikToks at the Packers.WalterPicks and Falcons.WalterPicks, you can follow this until the end of the season and see what's up. But I really want to thank everyone for hopping in here with us. This first stream was an absolute blast with Caleb. As always, me and Caleb, the best of buds around here. We hope you guys enjoy it, really. So thanks for hopping in here. And one last question for Michael. Down 25, I have Deontay and Najee. They have the Steelers D. Think they can pull it off?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh man, that's gonna be a barn burner, man. I'm excited. Hey, if you follow us on TikTok, comment what happens, man. I'm very curious. That's gonna be close. That's gonna be really close. But
Luke,
hey, thanks everyone for hopping in here. Chargers, thank you, sir, for hanging out. But yeah, awesome stream, guys. Thanks for hopping in.